So what do you do for a living?
Oh, I'm a content creator and author.
Oh, that is so cool. So how does that work income-wise? Like, how do you make money? How much time do you have? Hey, good morning, lovelies. I've been sick all week. And I also already filmed this video once, but due to technical difficulties, the footage got corrupted and was deemed unusable, which is why it did not go up on January 10th as I had originally planned. So bear with me. Ooh, that is still too hot. If you're new here, hi, I am CM Alonji, the creator of CaFae Latte and a Minnesota Book Award nominee, and today we're talking numbers. Ooh, sexy. Video entertainment has been around for decades at this point, and storytelling has been around since the dawn of humanity. But digital content creation as a career is still relatively new and unknown, so there are a lot of questions about how exactly one can make money by uploading videos onto YouTube and TikTok. There are fewer questions on how making money as an author works, as that career path has been around for several centuries. But in this day and age, and in my case specifically, the two often overlap. So today we are talking about how income streams from content creation and books typically work, which of those streams apply to me specifically, and then we'll get into the nitty-gritty exact details of how much money I earned in 2024. Note that this is just my story, okay? It is purely anecdotal. What works for me does not work for other content creators and vice versa. That is something I learned the hard way. This is mostly to just give my 2 cents and experience to those who are looking to do content creation as a career or are simply curious about how the process works. Okay, so most jobs in America involve just one paycheck, right? And it is either enough to cover the bills or it isn't, and you have to get a second or third job. Content creation is different. Every revenue stream that I'm about to talk about, the ad revenue, the merch, the sponsorships, the royalties, most of them alone are not enough to financially support someone, never mind a whole family. This is why the vast majority of content creators and authors have to work second, if not third, jobs, at least for the first few months or years of content creation. Look, I was working in a deli when I signed the book contract for CITADEL, and I was still there 2 years later when I came up with CaFae Latte, and it took the CaFae another 7 months to get to the point where I could quit and create full-time. The way to get to that point of working content creation full-time is to curate multiple revenue streams. Look, content creators are basically little businesses, okay? Even if there's only one person involved. And there's never only one person involved, okay? I have a video editor named Nick, who's helping me out with this video, and a Discord moderator and candle maker named Fiend, who both make this whole process just a whole lot easier. Like a business, a successful content creator will have multiple streams of income mixed and matched to their specific needs and talents. There is no one-size-fits-all for making money in this career. What works for me does not work for, say, overly sarcastic productions, or oversimplified, or cinema therapy, and vice versa. So let's break down these potential revenue streams and see whether I do or do not partake. Ad revenue is the one that laymen typically first think of when they hear about making money on YouTube. So unless you have an ad blocker, which I do, by the way, a lot of YouTube videos you click on will have an ad, usually in the beginning, maybe in the middle, and companies that make those commercials pay YouTube a lot of money to put them in front of audiences. YouTube determines which videos will get those ads, and no, we the content creator have no say in which ads go on our videos, and then they give the creator of that video a share of the profits they received from that ad's original company based on the number of views it gets. TikTok has a very similar model, although they intersperse creator content with ads every few videos. The ad revenue given to companies like YouTube and TikTok is a large reason why these platforms are free for everyone to use, and they're also a large reason why so many creators can make content full-time. Still too hot. Percentages differ per platform. YouTube gives its creators about half of the revenue it earns from ads per video, and TikTok, while not confirmed, actually only gives its creators like 5%, if that. However, until very recently, I actually made more money from TikTok than I did from YouTube because TikTok's algorithm allowed me to get a lot more views and subscribers way more quickly. A smaller percentage of 400,000 TikTok subscribers and views still landed me more money than a larger percentage of only a few thousand YouTube views. There are other caveats to this. One of them is that certain types of content do not count for monetization, as I'm sure you're well aware. Videos with a lot of blood, or any type of nudity, or swearing, or that discuss certain topics are often demonetized. TikTok is especially notorious for having this hair trigger with that type of thing, which is why video editor Nick and I have to be very creative with the captions as well as the lighting on videos that get bloody. We're not trying to soften the blow for you. We know you can take it. You're not 5. We're trying to ensure that we get paid. This type of censorship is just creatively grating, and is usually why I prefer writing books to making videos. These, well, not the cookbook, but these get bloody, and no one can stop me. Another issue with the ad revenue is that you have to already have a large audience to even qualify in the first place, which means a lot of creators make content for free for years before they see even a penny of ad revenue. And because of those large percentages taken by the platform itself, the revenue gained in the first few years isn't much. My first year making money on TikTok, I got maybe $20 a month. There is also the risk of the platform changing its algorithm or policy on a whim that can help or hinder creators. For instance, when TikTok started its creator rewards program beta a couple of years ago, I actually started making a lot more money because they were giving creators a bigger piece of the pie. However, the TikTok ban will make that a moot point as my American audience moves on to other platforms when they can't upload or download the app later this year. Look, this type of uncertainty is a hallmark of being a content creator. It's just part of the job. The platforms we rely on to reach our audiences are not in any way under our control, which is another reason creators often operate on multiple platforms. It's not just to reach more people, it's insurance. In related news, all of my social links and the newsletter sign up are in the description of this video. Moving on. Okay, so merch. This one's pretty obvious, right? If and when a content creator gets a large enough audience, they can create and sell their own merch with logos, slogans, artwork, whatever. This one requires a lot more legwork than the passive ad revenue, as it involves making and shipping the product to order every time a consumer orders something, unless you do what I did and use a third-party middleman like Printful. So companies like Printful are basically designed for content creators and other people who need to create and sell merch but don't have the means to do so. Look, I live in a 2-bedroom apartment with 2 other people. I don't have a warehouse full of t-shirts lying around somewhere, and I certainly don't have the staff to package and ship them. But Printful does, so I upload the design on whatever product I want them to sell, I link it back to my website, and they take care of the rest. Obviously, they get a chunk of the profit. A big one. In fact, I see very little of the money that you guys pay for my merch, in large part because I keep the prices as low as possible. So if you're paying $6 for a set of Cyrus pins, I'm only going to see about 50 cents. The rest goes to Printful, and that pays for the creation of the product itself, shipping, employees, and profit. That is on top of any money that I pay up front to, say, an artist to create the design in the first place. Look, I'm good with Canva, but I could not have made the creepy CaFae cheapies that I sold for spooky season. And the CaFae Latte logo itself, that wasn't me. All right, that and all the other logos in the CaFae Latte universe are done by Olive Dragon Art, and they are worth every penny, by the way. If you're looking for an artist, go commission them. I'm also going to shout out the less conventional merch that I sell, possible through partnerships with WaresByFiend and Eat Me Boutique. This technically doesn't count as merch, as it's more partnerships. I give Wares and Eat Me the legal right to slap my logo on some stuff that they make, and then I get about 10% of whatever profits they make from selling that stuff. It's very similar to my relationship with Printful in that they're doing all the work of creating and shipping the product, while the intellectual property is all mine. WaresByFiend is an indie candle and wax store that sells, among their own things, CaFae latte candles. Eat Me Boutique sells body products such as body spray, hairspray, and edible massage oil for recreational purposes. There's a whole CaFae section in Eat Me Boutique inspired by the drinks and vibes of the series, and you also get 10% off when you use the promo code CaFeLatte10, so do that. The merch revenue stream is very unreliable. Some months I earn $50, others I earn 1,000. Sometimes I can predict when it's going to be a good month, usually involving a holiday or a new product, but not always. Merch is not like videos. Okay, once you have, say, a water bottle, you don't need to get another one, and most people don't want another one. And reusing the water bottle does not give the creator or seller of that bottle more money the way that rewatching YouTube videos does. So the only way I can generate more revenue out of merch is to either create more merch, which I only do once every few months, and or grow my audience. Because of its unpredictability, I do not rely on merch as a revenue stream. That money goes straight into my savings account. It's nice to have, but not necessarily expected. Okay, let's say there's a content creator who focuses on photography. Okay, and they have this video out reviewing a specific type of camera. Let's say the Canon that I'm using to film this. They do the video, they talk about the camera's pros and cons, maybe showing you some of the pictures that they've taken with it, and then they say something to the effect of, if you want to purchase this camera, click the link in the description of this video. You click the link, and it takes you to Amazon or Best Buy or whatever, and buy the camera. You get a camera, the company gets a sale, and the content creator gets a small percentage of that sale. You did not have to pay that extra percentage, the company did, because they want people like that photographer to hype up their product, and so they incentivize it with a little bit of commission. This is called an affiliate program, and the link you clicked for that camera is called an affiliate link. They're most often associated with like tech and software products, but they can also be used for anything: books, soap, clothing, whatever. I actually did try to use affiliate links back in like the early days when I was but a baby content creator, but I quickly found out that it is not for creators like me. The reason this is so often used by tech creators is because of how low that commission rate is, usually around 3%. From a $20 book, like what I would try to sell, that is a few pennies. But from a $300 camera, especially if you've built up a very large platform of thousands of followers, at least a few of whom are likely to buy it, that is a bit more substantial. There's also a new element being tested here: trust. Can you trust that the creator is giving you an honest review of this camera if they're trying to make a sale from it? Maybe. If they have their pick of cameras, then they probably chose a pretty good one, or at least a camera that's really good for them. But there's still an element of bias in there that I'm just not comfortable with. And look, guys, I say this as someone with over 5 years of sales experience, okay? You've got to get that bag. And if you're selling the product or service, then you probably do believe in the product or service to some extent. But the bias is still there. So sponsorships are similar to affiliate links in that it involves a third-party company paying you to talk about their shit. In fact, affiliate links and sponsorships often go hand in hand. A sponsorship is when a third-party company pays a content creator to talk about their product during the actual video. kind of like a built-in commercial break. The most common sponsorships, at least the ones in the media that I consume, tend to be Skillshare, BetterHelp, and Book of the Month. You have definitely seen these little cutaways before. They usually happen in the middle or at the end of the video, often with a promo code that has the content creator's name somehow incorporated into it or a link. That link and or promo code is important because that's how sponsors pay the content creator they've hired, usually. Sometimes the pay is based on how many views the video gets, similar to ad revenue, but a lot of times sponsors will instead pay the content creator based on how many people use that specific promo code within a 30-day time limit. Of course, that is for big channels with big audiences. For smaller content creators, many sponsorships don't pay in money. Instead, they get the free product itself, usually so they can use it as a prop in the content. I still have the coffee maker from a sponsorship video I did a while ago. I don't use it, but my roommates do. I actually don't like coffee. This would be a great time for me to tell you about this video's sponsor. Except I don't have one. I used to do sponsored videos, mostly on TikTok, because that was the only platform where I had a large enough platform to make it worth it at the time. I did 2 or 3, and then I decided it wasn't for me. The sponsor is very hands-on with what you can and cannot say. They can veto your script and make you rewrite it and refuse to pay you if you don't. A lot of times they'll just straight up write the script for you, which to me kind of defeats the purpose of content creation. It also meant that because my most popular videos are CaFae Latte videos, I would have to create the skit for the purposes of being an ad rather than creating it for the purposes of a story. And I could get away with that a handful of times, and I'm good enough at my job that at the very least those ads were entertaining to watch. But after a while, I just felt like a corporate shill. And doing it too often enough to rely on it as a revenue stream, ran the risk of alienating my audience, who are coming to me for a good story and maybe a little bit of education, not a commercial. Oh, that's so much better. And of course, if the company turns out to be corrupt, or the product is no good, and then that can backlash onto the creator who recommended that company and product in the first place, shaking the trust between creator and audience, or just straight up screwing them over. Look, if I'm gonna lose audience members, I want it to be because of my own mistakes, god damn it. Look, those are just my 2 cents. I have no hate or judgment toward other content creators who do use sponsorships. In fact, I think like 99% of the people I follow do rely on sponsorships for a chunk of their revenue. And look, if this video did have a sponsor, it would be Briano's Deli Italia in Eagan, Minnesota. They hired me at the end of 2020 and paid me enough while I worked part-time that I was able to pour so much more time and energy and effort into my writing and into CaFae Latte, turbocharging my career. The pizza is very good, the sandwiches will ruin you for Subway, and the staff were very supportive of me. So if you're in that area, go say hi. I have been a writer for much longer than I've been a content creator. Guys, the whole reason I started YouTube and TikTok was to promote my books, purely at the behest of my literary agent, okay? I didn't want to do it because I didn't really get social media or how to make it work for me. It's a story for another time. Traditionally published means going through a publishing company in order to get your books into readers' hands. My science fiction novel Citadel is published through Blackstone Publishing, while my upcoming dark fantasy novel The Witch Who Trades with Death is through Angry Robot. You can order or pre-order both of them in the description of this video. And yes, they both have audiobook and ebook variants. Now, not every content creator is an author, but a lot of them do have products or services. In fact, like me, a lot of them started their channels and platforms specifically to market those products and services, and while the money gained from the ad revenue or sponsorships is a nice bonus, that's not why they do it. They are creating content for the product, not for the sake of the content itself, which makes it a different ballgame, but it's one that works for them. Now look, there are a ton of videos and articles going into the pros and cons of traditional publishing and how it differs from self-publishing, blah, 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 and I'll get into that in a minute. This video is not about that, so I'll keep it brief for you. Traditional publishing is great because you don't have to worry about hiring an editor or cover artist. They come with the publisher. In fact, you often get a whole team of editors whose only job is to make your book as awesome as it can be. You also don't have to worry about formatting anything or doing any of the legwork of actually publishing it. You just have to write and promote. Traditional publishing also sucks. Because if you and your editors disagree on whether certain scenes or characters should or should not be in the story, the editor has the legal right to have their way, since in order to work with the publisher, you have to sell them the rights to your story. I do not own the rights to Citadel or The Witcher Trades with Death. The publishers do. The cover artists do not have to consult you about how to do the cover at all if they don't want. Ditto for audiobook narrators if your book has that format. And the publisher is the one who decides when and how the book comes out, not you, as well as if and when to take the book off of shelves. Now, I have been very lucky. Both Blackstone and Angry Robot treat their authors very well and have involved me in every step of the process. And that was before I had the weight of an internet presence that I could leverage if needed. I mean, look at these covers. These are gorgeous, and I had a lot of say over them. But there's another issue with traditional publishing, and that is money. Traditional publishers will typically give you an advance payment when you sign the contract. They'll say that they'll pay you by a certain date, and then you actually get the money 3 to 6 months after that date. The money is also not enough to live off of. Citadel's advance payment was a total of $20,000, which I got $15,000 because my literary agent gets 15% of everything I make. That's how she gets paid. $15K may sound like a lot, and for a debut novel, yeah, that's pretty good. But that was stretched across 2 years. That is $625 a month, before taxes. If you live in the United States, you cannot live off of that. And despite Citadel being on shelves for 1.5 years at this point, I have not received any royalties yet. Royalties are the percentage an author gets to keep from the book sales. With traditional publishing, that percentage is pretty low, usually in the 10 to 20% range, as the publisher is the one fronting the cost for printing and distributing the book, so they get to keep most of the profits. And if you have an advance payment, you have to sell enough books so the publisher can regain that amount of money before they pay you further. Any book sales you make after that $20,000 is recouped go to your royalties. And as you can see, that can take a while, if it ever happens at all. I put traditional book money in the same category as merch. Straight to savings, don't rely on it, don't even factor it into the budget. Is there a way for book sales to be more reliable, especially on a monthly basis? Well, yes, but also no. Self-publishing is when you cut the traditional publisher out entirely. You hire your own editors and cover artists, you do all the formatting, you upload that sucker onto Barnes & Noble or Amazon KDP or Ingram Spark. You have full creative control, as well as control over the price and publication date. You can even decide if and when to stop selling that book, taking it down. My epic fantasy Black Wing novella series, the official CaFae Latte cookbook that I wrote with my mom, and the upcoming CaFae Latte novel Heart of Iron are all self-published. The upside to this is everything that I just mentioned, as well as a higher percentage of royalties. Instead of 10%, I make like 75 per book sold. Additionally, I determine how many sequels there are, which was the main selling point to me. If I decided to sell Heart of Iron in its entirety to, say, Blackstone, who were interested, they would have been the ones to ultimately decide how many books are in the series. And since I don't even know how many books are going to be in this series, I figured it was better than struggling under the cap of, say, a trilogy or trying to stretch the story out to 5 or 6 novels. Look, given my internet presence, I would probably have more say in the matter than most other authors. I'd still rather be on my timeline with my terms. I will be having them do the audiobook version of Heart of Iron. You can do that, sell someone the audio rights while keeping the print and actual book rights. They can't change a damn thing from the manuscript I ultimately send them, but they can go through the work of turning it into an audio. They did phenomenally with Citadel, so that'll be great. However, there is a downside to self-publishing, and it's not just the fact that you're doing literally all the work and fronting all of the costs, and that is diminishing returns. It is the same problem we get with traditional publishing and merch. Once people have bought the book, they don't need to buy it again. This means that you get a nice spike of sales in the month it comes out that gradually declines over the next few weeks. You can revitalize that now and then with sales, which is what Mom and I did with the cookbook over Black Friday, or with sequels, but there's only so far that will take you. On top of that, there is a 2-month delay between selling the book and getting the money, which is much better than traditional publishing's track record, but it's still annoying. This is why none of the official CaFae Latte cookbook sales made it into this year's income. I haven't been paid for it yet. So once again, we have an unreliable income stream that is nice when it works, but it's not something you want to stake your rent on. Like the merch and traditional book money, this stream goes right into my savings account where I don't think about it. So far, almost every revenue stream we've covered has been finicky at best, heavily reliant on factors outside of the creator's control. Even if you do have a pretty steady rate of views from YouTube or TikTok like I do, you need to take a break at some point, or you'll burn out. So you just don't make as much money that month, if any. Is there any stream that's actually, steady? Reliable? Patreon helps smooth over the stress and unreliability of all the other streams. It's kind of like a subscription service for more content. You give the creator any amount of money you want, as low as $1 a month, and in exchange you get extra content, maybe even some free merch. My patrons get to see YouTube videos a day early, they get sneak peeks and quotes from the books before they're published, they were the first to hear about the CaFae Latte Kickstarter back in February, and they helped me figure out a cover for the cookbook. My Discord is Patreon only, there's free merch and even mini candles for the higher tiers. I've even got the first draft of the CaFae Latte book Heart of Iron on there, which you can still read, but it's not nearly as good as what's going to be available for purchase in October. And the story is very different. I rewrote like 80% of it. This is a much steadier form of income because I'm being paid every month. And while that amount does fluctuate a little, it's still very reliable. Mostly because those tend to be my most reliable fans. They're the ones who want to give me money to buy my merch and consume more content and share CaFae Latte headcanons and theories with each other. It does take a while to grow, longer than it takes you to grow YouTube and TikTok and all the other platforms. When I worked sales, a common sentiment is that you get 10 no's for every yes, and Patreon is twice removed from first content. First, you have to get other people to follow you onto YouTube and TikTok. That's your first batch of 10 no's for every one yes. And then you got to convince some of those people to support you on Patreon. So that's another wave of 10 no's for every one yes. I have 46,000 YouTube subscribers at the filming of this video, and only 1,300 paying patrons. That is 1 in 35 fans. But those patrons are essential. When my TikTok account got hacked back in November and I was locked out for a few days, a major reason I did not freak out is because of my patrons. I knew that I could rely on them for however long it took that issue to get solved, which turned out to be less than a week because TikTok actually did its job and booted the hacker out. So thank you, patrons. You did me a solid, even if it's only for my mental health. So those are the most common revenue streams that content creators use to make a living. Let's dive into exactly how much each of them earned me throughout the year 2024. We're going to start big and we're going to work our way down. First up, Patreon. I earned $29,292.03 last year, averaging $2,441 a month. That covered pretty much all of my essential bills: rent, phone, Wi-Fi, health insurance, car insurance, etc. Mwah! Love you guys. TikTok was a close second at $21,527.43, with an average of $1,793.95 a month. Although that average is somewhat misleading, as for the first 6 months of the year, I actually averaged around $1,400. It wasn't until July that I started regularly making more than $2,000 a month from TikTok as the audience continued to grow. However, with the TikTok ban going into effect, there's probably going to be a decline in 2025. Luckily, YouTube seems to be picking up the slack. I earned $12,113.53 from YouTube, but I won't tell you the average per month because, like with TikTok, the average is very misleading. The first 3 months of 2024, I did not make more than $300 off of YouTube. The number gradually trickled up as I uploaded more content and got more cross-followers from TikTok. And then in November, 2 things happened. My TikTok was hacked, and I uploaded the CaFae Latte Super Comp. The Super Comp is pretty easy to explain. You guys love watching and rewatching that massive 12-hour compilation, which is great for my analytics and ad revenue. We will be doing that again. As for the hacking, which was resolved the same week it happened, I encouraged everyone on my platform to follow me on YouTube and my other socials, both to get around the hack and also in preparation for the TikTok ban, which you guys did. You can see the spike in subscribers from when that happened. Those 2 things together meant that in December, I got over $5,000 from YouTube. And that is a statistic that I expect to largely increase over time as TikTok decreases. Merch. After Printful takes its cut, I got $6,449.24, with the month of March being $66 and the month of October over $1,000. All the other months hit everything in between with very little rhyme or reason. As I said, unreliable. My self-publishing royalties, which is all Blackwing, I will not get the cookbook stuff until this month, earned $3,117.93, and Angry Robot gave me the first half of the advance for The Witch Who Trades with Death, which, after my literary agent got her 15%, was $1,564.79. Yeah, Angry Robot does not give out the big chunky advances the way that Blackstone does, which sounds bad until you realize that I'm far more likely to receive royalties from Witch a lot sooner than Citadel, as I have less of an advance to make up for. Since Heart of Iron is also slated for self-publication on October 7th of this year, it's going to be a good year for royalties, although I might not see a lot of that money until 2026, thanks to the publishing industry's snail-like pace. Then, for the purposes of the IRS and not going to jail, I have to count the Kickstarter money that I earned back in February for Heart of Iron, even though that money went straight into business expenses like Fiend, Nick, the book editor Melvin, the posters and stickers that I promised all the supporters, video props, a new laptop when mine conked out, the trip I took to northern Minnesota to make sure the scene that I had planned for the climactic battle could actually work in that setting, etc. Yes, the scene will work, and also Lake Superior is really fucking cold, even in the height of summer. You guys gave me $104,000 for the Kickstarter after that platform took its 10% cut, which brings my 2024 income to a grand total of $178,816.04. Now, before you get excited or jealous, there are some caveats. Number 1, as explained, the Kickstarter money did not go to my personal expenses like rent or food, only business expenses, and yet that is still going to get hit with the income tax. In related news, number 2, none of this money has been taxed yet. And as an independent worker, I owe the IRS about 15 to 20% of everything I make. By my estimate, I'm going to be cutting Uncle Sam a check for almost $36,000 in April. So, take away the Kickstarter money and the taxes, and what I'm ultimately left to play around with is $38,301.94 for the year of 2024. That is nothing to sneeze at, especially since I am unmarried, I have no kids, and I share an apartment with 2 other adults, so my expenses are not as high as they could be. As long as I keep living below my means like this and growing my audience, I might be able to get a house with a room that I could convert into a proper studio. You know, it'd be nice to not have to worry about framing the camera in a way that blocks out the air conditioner, or just being resigned to having it there, or when my neighbor is vacuuming the hallway, or when my roommates are home so I don't have to schedule filming around them, and also they won't be able to give me their cold that keeps me clogged up for a week. And lighting. Guys, I could get some proper lights without having to awkwardly position the lamps and relying on sunlight. But you know, that's for the future. And if you're an aspiring content creator, I want you to know that 2024 was the first full year that I've been able to do this full time. I was still working at Briano's for the first half of 2023 because I was not making anywhere close to these numbers online. And that is after starting TikTok in 2021, YouTube in 2018, and publishing short stories and novellas in 2015, when I was 20. Doing the math on that just made me realize I'm going to be 30 in August. But that just proves my point. A decade. It has been a decade from me starting to seriously write and create content as a career to actually be able to do it. as a career.
And it's still shaky and risky. Platforms can go down because of xenophobic governments, their algorithms can change with no warning or explanation, your profile can get hacked, and because it's entertainment, you have to keep producing quality content at a continuous rapid pace, which is exhausting. There is a reason I'm taking a month off from CaFae Latte, and it's not just because of the holidays. But for all of its faults, no job or career has ever made me happier or more fulfilled. And that would not be possible without you guys. So thank you.